Have you ever wanted to be a samurai that upon getting really, really angry turns into some sort of ferocious beast? Really? No? Well, that's okay, because you get to anyway in Samurai Spirit. An interesting co-op game that seems to be very simple, but don't forget, simplicity does not mean easy. Ooh, this game is nasty hard. Let me show you how it works, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you what I think of it. The object of the game is to defend this village here, and at the end of every turn, every round I should say, then there will be 3 consecutive rounds, each one harder than the last. There has to be at least one surviving family out of these 3, and one surviving homestead out of these 6. And if that's true for every round, including the end of the game, then you win the game. If all 3 are done, the families or all the homesteads are burnt, or anyone dies by taking too many wounds, then the game is over. To set up the game, everyone's going to take one of these samurai cards. They're going to take the token that represents their power there. They're going to take one of these cool pawns, and they're going to put it on the 0 there. And we'll put a deck here of the characters that are attacking the village. And so, very simple. I'm going to move these aside for now. On your turn, let's say it's this character's turn, you have one of 3 options. You can fight, which means you'll be drawing a card from here. You can support another character by giving them your token with your power, or you can pass. So, to fight, you'll draw a card from the top of the deck that looks like that. And you're going to be picking one of 2 things to do with it. You can either defend against it, which means you are going to put it over here. And if the symbols there match, then you're allowed to do so, and you're defending against that person. That'll be good for the end of the round, because you want to play in these spots in order to keep bad things from happening when the round is over and we've run through those cards. The other thing you can do is you can confront it. And if you confront the character, then you put them on this side, and you adjust your track there to the total of the character. So in this case, 4. And it would be the next player's turn at that point. In this case, I would probably put this over here because it's a 4. And if I get past the 8 here, then something burns. And then next turn, if I'm still past the 8, then I have to pass my turn. I can no longer help the team. And that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to come together and then get through the pile of cards here as best as you can without letting things go. And so I would do that, then it would be the next player's turn. They have the same 3 choices. If the other choice on my next turn is, if I want to instead support, then I would take this token, which means if the player having it, and I always keep my own power, by the way, so giving this away, it doesn't mean I'm giving it up, it just means someone else is having it as well. So let's say I want to give it to this character here. In this case, what this symbol means is that if they draw a 1, a 3, or a 5, then they're allowed to pass it to one of their neighbors, the card. And the neighbor could just take the card for them. So it's a way to assist them, make sure they don't go over their total, something like that. So I would give them that, and then I would take a card from the top without looking at it, and I would put it at the top of the board here. I would put it there. And those are characters that have slipped by us, and they're going to come in and try to burn the village down. I'll tell you about those in a second. So those are basically your choices. You help someone else, you fight them, or you pass. There's a couple of other things that are very important. If you ever get to your total fight value here and you land right on it, then you trigger a power down here. And each character has a different power that they can trigger. And once you've done that, so let's say this character's power total is 8. So let's say that I've done this. I've got a 2. Then later on I drew another 2, and then I drew a 4, and I put it there, and boom, and I hit my 8 exactly. Well, the first thing I would do is I would trigger my power there, and then I would actually get rid of the oldest card in the stack to the discard pile and readjust my scale. I'll show you some of these in a second, but now I've got some more leeway there to fight. Also, be aware at the beginning of everyone's turn, they always have to deal with the symbol of the last guy here. So, for example, this one means that at the beginning of my turn, if he's the last guy, something has to burn. We start with these barricades, which are on the board protecting the village. But once they're gone and you have to burn something, then the homesteads start to go. Here are some of the samurai that you can play, and I'll show you some of their powers. In this case, this guy here can pass a 2, a 4, or a 6 to one of the neighbors, not take it themselves. And if they ever hit 8 exactly, then they can build another barricade. Very useful. This guy here can, as I said before, pass a 1, a 3, or a 5 to one of the neighbors. And then what he can do is he can remove the last card from any samurai's combat line, the combat line being over here on the side, and give it to another samurai. He can even give it to himself. He can take it from someone else, give it to himself. This big guy here can choose to fight twice. That's his power up there. So if he wants to, and after he flips one card and fights that card, well, he can flip another one and keep on fighting. And then his power down here is that he can remove the last card from a samurai's combat line, even his own, and put it in the discard pile. So, the cards that are piling up on his side, if he hits exactly 10, and he wants to pick himself, let's say, he'll get rid of the first card, so the oldest, because he can do that anyway. Everybody does that. And he could get rid of the newest also. So, he's sort of a tank, this guy. And as you can see, there's a few more here. This guy can give his support token to another samurai when this happens. So as soon as he hits the 9 there, he can give the support token to another person. This guy here, he can turn over the top 2 cards to the raider stack and return them to the top of the stack face up in any order he chooses. So he can look at the next 2. And so they have their own powers. This guy can decide not to fight one, put it on the bottom, and flip the next one. This guy, if he already has that value when he flips, well, he can ignore the new card. So if he has a 4 here and flips another one, he can ignore it. So there's all sorts of cool powers. Once the round is over and we assume everyone has survived, well, then at that point, let's say that we have all of these cards up here. At that point, we would take these one by one, we would flip them up and see which ones have the flame on the bottom corner. This one does not. We're good. There we go. There it is. So there's one, and we would burn one barricade. And so we would continue to do that. Nothing, one gone. Nothing, one gone. And again, we've still got barricades here. There's a couple more, but if they were gone and you keep on burning, then these have to go. Another thing to be careful with is these over here on the side. If they're not protected, then you're going to be hurting the team overall. If you're not defending against this one, you'll take a wound. If you're not defending against this one homestead burns. If you're not defending against that one, a family is gone. Once you've taken one wound, then we're going to put a wound token on you, like so. However, if you take another wound, we remove this one and flip your character over, and you are now a samurai critter, some sort of monkey, or some of the other ones have really cool abilities, like this guy's a fox, and this guy is, maybe that's a wolf, that's a fox, and this guy is a raccoon, and then we have over here a tiger, and a boar, and a bear, and so a couple of things that does is it increases this track. As you can see, he went up to a 9, now he can go up to a 12, but it got you closer to death. So, once you're on this side, you take one more wound, you're fine. If you take one more wound, you're dead, game's over. So that's basically an overview of the game. You do that, you play 3 rounds. At the end of the first round, once you've gone through that entire stack of cards, then you're going to add a random 5 to the deck for every player in the game. And then at the end of that round, if you survived, well, you'll add a 6 for the last round. The 5s are in, then the 6s. The game clearly gets very, very hard as you go on, but that's basically the game. You just continue defending the village, putting the cards where you think they should go, helping each other at strategic times, and if you come out of it at the end, well, you're the winner. So there you have it, Samurai Spirit. That's a little overview for you. The game, as you can see, is pretty simple, the flow of it, the play of it. But it is a very difficult game, as I said. The game, I think the main thing I would have to say about this game is that the game is very subtle. The game seems to be, upon first seeing the game, upon first hearing of the game, you think, this is like Blackjack, the co-op game. You're trying to hit that total but not go over. Okay, that seems random. And yes, it's a card game. There's no denying that. There is luck in this game. You are drawing from a well-shuffled deck of cards. But the game really hinges upon using those character powers well. It hinges upon the cooperation. It hinges upon understanding what you should be doing at any given moment and not just grabbing a card and flipping it and seeing what happens. So there is that to it. It seems to me that the game has been getting a lot of sort of flack for that, for being so simple. But, well, there's two things I have to say to that. One, yeah, it's simple. It's a little card game. It's a simple co-op, and it should not it shouldn't be seen as a negative because the game is, well, simple and light and a little bit lucky. But besides that, it's also really subtle, and it's hard to know what to do in this game. It's one of those games that, to me at least, eludes me a little bit. And that's captivating in a co-op game to me. Because I'm never quite sure if I should be doing this or not doing that. Or wait, should I be helping someone right now? Is that a better idea than just drawing a card myself? So interesting for how small and simple the game is. It gives me a lot of things to think about, and I like that in a co-op game. If you're looking for a light co-op game that plays a big crowd, this plays up to 7, though I think my favorite way to play is with like 4, and is easy to teach, doesn't have too many complications, artwork is gorgeous, the symbols are a little much, but you have a good rule book, and so you'll figure them out there. You might need to check it a few times, but they work and they're well done. The graphic design and the artwork is really good. If it sounds exciting to you and interesting, I would recommend you check this one out, Samurai Spirit. The game seems to be flying under the radar a little bit, so I would give it a little bit of love. It's a cool one and one I'm happy to own. Samurai Spirit.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.